Well, everybody, I hope you can hear me here and even possibly see me. We're doing the Age of Exploration today. We have just been notified that due to the weather, we are all going to be remaining in school a bit longer than usual. So, awesome. If you can see the slides, great. If you can't, that'll be okay too. But you get a copy. Make sure you got the terms copied down. And here we go. The Age of Exploration. In the early 1500s, as the Islamic gunpowder empires were reaching their height, its Europeans in Western Europe began reaching out into the oceans, trying to find what was out there. Like the ancient Phoenicians years and years ago were the first long-distance sailors, it was the Portuguese who began to test the known boundaries. From over here in Portugal, they began to extend around Africa. This is what they thought the map of the world looked like at this time. And the sailors, the Portuguese, are going to combine several different pieces of technology. Number one, they're going to take the frame of the old Chinese junk, the Chinese trading ship, with its stern post rudder attached to help give you more stability when steering. They're going to combine that with the triangular sail, the lateen sail that can be raised or lowered like a Chinese fan. So when there's a lot of wind, like right now, you could, instead of like hoisting all the ropes, you could just pull one and lower the sail, shorten the sail to give you more stability. In little wind, you could raise the whole thing. And now that they're triangular, we can move them and articulate them. So if you're going against the wind, you can turn one sail so the wind blows through it, spins around, and actually pushes you forward. All of this, coupled with some other advances, will allow people to travel overseas a greater distance. They could handle all types of ocean current and all type of weather. And it is the Portuguese that are going to want to try and find a shortcut to Asia, to take advantage of the Asian trading companies by cutting out the middleman. As they were cutting across the globe, they will run into the Americas. This journey is dangerous, it is scary, but the chance of money and riches to be made, they could make a ton of money of spices from India and goods from Southeast Asia and possibly silk from China, that the reward well outweighed the risk. Overland, the Silk Road takes time. It had been the only way to take advantage of this, but now there's something different. With the breakup of the Mongols and the different Islamic gunpowders in the way, it's now much easier to do by sea. Overland is too dangerous and difficult. And now we're going to apply science to this. The first instrument that is going to be applied to help the Portuguese not only make it all the way around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa, but over to the Americas as well, are going to have to be invented. And the Portuguese will help take ideas from China of the magnetic compass, a needle that floats in liquid mercury. It points towards magnetic north. With this, a sailor gets a basic idea of the direction they were traveling. However, it's not overwhelmingly accurate. Late in the 1400s, the Portuguese also developed something known as the Astrolabe. And the Astrolabe is going to allow people to measure the angle of the sun against certain stars, like the North Star or like Venus, with their distance to the horizon. With this, people can track their route and keep their bearings, know how far they have traveled. And a result of the Astrolabe, the Portuguese will invent something known as Mercator projection, which on a modern day map is the latitude and longitude lines. And the ship that we're going to come up with will be known as the caravel, this small, easily nimbled ship will apply the compass, the Astrolabe, and Mercator projection. And there's one last thing that's going to help, and that's known as the sextant, S-E-X-T-A-N-T. And the sextant will help measure the sun's altitude by comparing the altitude of the sun with the ship's current latitude and longitude. Ship captains can accurately plot where they are on the earth. It's like the ancient GPS, like back when we were able to read maps. That is what is going on right here at this time. It allows people to travel farther and faster than they ever thought possible. The guy that is responsible for most of this will be Prince Henry of Portugal, Prince Henry the Navigator. He is going to kick off a new era in world history, exploration of the New World, when he wants to meet a very wealthy African king named John Prester. Prince Henry wanted to help, Prester John, combat the spread of Islam. Prester John was a Christian. But Henry also wanted to find a way to tap into the vein of African gold. So to help the success of this venture, Prince Henry assembled a large team of scientists, of cartographers, and brave, successful sea captains. Guys like Alec, and Colin, even Harrison Danner. In sixth period, that will be Brundage the Fourth and Nat Romaine. And, well, Ryan Combs, all right? These will be the type of intellects we're going to put together and brave sea captains to go out and explore. Now, as they do this, the groups are going to work, and they're going to make increasingly longer travels down the African coastline. They're going to go a little bit farther, and a little bit farther, and a little bit farther each time. And then we're going to record what worked and what didn't work. And so, as these groups leapfrog each other down the coast of Africa, Prince Henry is going to die. He doesn't live long enough to see somebody come around the Horn of Africa, because below the Sahara Desert, we simply just didn't know a lot. But after his death, his school of navigation keeps going. It does not just stop with him. And this teams discovered the dangerous Horn of Africa, the southern tip, now known as the Cape of Good Hope. It separates the Atlantic from the Indian Ocean. And it's called the Cape of Good Hope for two reasons. Number one, as you went around it, you hope that you actually made it around. That's number one. Number two, you hope that as you made it across that you could get to India. But it was a dangerous undertaking, as the Atlantic current, the Indian Ocean current, and the Antarctic current all meet right here. If you've seen Shark Week, this is where the big giant great whites jump out of the ocean. And it's at this time that Western Europe featured many competitive kingdoms. The rulers of Spain did not want to lose any ground to their neighbors, the Portuguese. So they decided to enter the long-distance trade and exploration game. And so they are going to hire Italian sailor Christopher Columbus. He's got a different and a daring plan to make money. Rather than sail around Africa, Columbus thought you could sail westward. He didn't know about the Americas. He didn't think that they were actually there. And so it is the King and Queen of Spain, Kings Ferdinand and Isabella, that are going to finance Columbus's trip. They were looking for new sources of revenue, but they also wanted to spread Catholicism. Their main goal, however, was to cut out the middleman merchants, the Italian trading states or Arabs in the Middle East. Think about, why do your parents go to Costco or to Sam's Club? Not only can you buy in bulk, but you're cutting out stores like Walmart and Target and Food Line and Harris Teeter. Every stop along the way a product makes, the store has to charge you money. So let's cut out the middleman and let's make a bunch of money this way. And so it is their decision to allow Columbus to sail west that is going to change much of the known world. On August 3rd, 1492, Christopher Columbus will set sail with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And I know that Columbus takes a lot of heat. Yes, he never was in India, and that he will cut the arms off and massacre many Americans when they don't give him gold. But what you cannot understate is that this, not only did he make it, but he makes it there and back 4 times. And if you ever go to the museum up in Norfolk, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, one ship will fit in this room. They just weren't that big. And going across the Atlantic in one of those is no small venture. So, after a rough voyage of nearly 2 months, Columbus's fleet will find land on October 12, 1492. And there were several mutinies. His guys were gone. They didn't know how much supplies to take, how much food and how much water. But Columbus said, well, be careful, because if you guys kill me, I'm the only one who knows how to read this stuff, use the sextant and the compass. I'm the only one who knows how to get back. And so in October, they make it. What is today the Caribbean. And Columbus will sail around. He'll still be looking for China. And he thought he had reached the East Indies, the Pacific island chain. And since he thought he made it to the Indies, he named the people he saw Indians. And Columbus will return to Spain a conquering hero. He had done it. He'd done what he set out to do. However, he was lost, and he will come back 3 more times, still every time thinking he was in Asia. Shortly, however, after his death, the Europeans figured out that the territory was a brand new world. He was not in India, he was somewhere new. While he was lost, he did record his trips over and back. So, love him or not, he does something for the very first time, and there's a map of what he does. Second up will be a guy named Vasco da Gama. But after the New World is discovered, Spain and Portugal went through a lot of work trying to equally divide up the New World. Lines of influence and territory were created, but it did not go smoothly. It caused the Pope, as both countries were Catholic, to get involved to prevent a war between the two fighting over the New World when they really didn't even know what was all there. And so in 1497, Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama enters the race. And Vasco will be a Portuguese sailor. He is the first guy to make it around the Cape of Good Hope of Africa. He makes it. They round the Horn and they make it over to India. Now in the process, he loses a bunch of ships and he loses many men. Some soldiers died of hunger, some died of thirst. Their teeth and hair were falling out as they were suffering from what we know today as scurvy, the vitamin D deficiency. However, even with the loss of all these men and equipment, when da Gama makes it back, the money that he makes is so enormous, it's unbelievable. Everybody who took a chance and invested with him becomes an overnight millionaire. And so instead of resting on his laurels, the first thing da Gama does is he buys more ships, he outfits another crew, and he heads right back to India because he's got a plan. He went on Shark Tank and he has an idea. He leaves behind willing merchants and sailors to stay in India. He gives them money and they buy goods cheaply at the source in India and put them in warehouses. Da Gama will take a load back to Portugal offload it, and when he was on his way back, another fleet was following him. So he had a constant rotation of ships coming and going from India, buying goods for dirt cheap at the source. By the year 1502, Portugal had become so wealthy that other European countries began to copy them and build outposts in foreign lands to support international trade. They would buy goods cheaply at the choice or sell consumables like tobacco and alcohol to get what they want. And this kicks off the heyday of vast trading empires that are fueling our current unit, the age of absolutism. Next up, it's kind of a favorite of mine, but a guy who just has a bad time. His name is Ferdinand Magellan. And Magellan will undergo one of the most difficult and fantastic, dangerous voyages of exploration in human history. Magellan had been influenced by guys like Gama and Henry the Navigator and even Columbus. And so King Charles of Spain, our guy we just talked about who had a breakdown and divided up the empire, Charles will finance Magellan's quest for an all-water route through the New World, now known as the Americas. He's going to make it all the way from the Americas to Asia. Forgive me, there was just a knock. I didn't know if it was thunder or we're going into, DEFCON 1 or what. But anyhow, Magellan interviews and recruits soldiers for a 2-year voyage. He says, man, this thing's going to be long. During the interviews, he doesn't tell the applicants where they were heading or his overall plan. When you volunteered, you volunteered. You didn't need to know where we were going. And Magellan is able to assemble a large multicultural crew for his voyage. So on September 20th, 1519, Magellan and 5 ships head out. On their way across the Atlantic, Magellan runs into difficult storms and a couple hurricanes, kind of like right now, and some mutinies, until finally, when he didn't think they were going to make it, he spots South America. He begins to explore the coast of South America. After exploring the coast, Magellan will go down. I'd like to show you a video of this. It's in a movie called Master and Commander, where he rounds the Cape of South America off the coast of Argentina in November of 1520. It was extremely dangerous, just exactly like the Cape of Africa. Extremely dangerous, volatile weather, freezing temperatures, high waves. Oops, hang on a second.
Attention! Everyone in the trailers needs to move to the B building. Attention! Everyone in the trailers needs to move to the B building.
All right. This area is now known as the Straits of Magellan, and to this day is full of violent, turbulent weather.
Also, all the students need to come out of the classrooms and go into the hallways.
All right, we're going to lockdown. Hang on here, or to tornado drill. Hang on.